This is the copyright notice. These lessons are part of the Series 65 exam audio lessons for the new financial service professionals and is protected by copyright law. Copyright Spidermount LLC 2025, all rights reserved. No part of this recording may be copied, reproduced, distributed, transmitted, stored in a retrieval system, or used in any form or by any means, including electronic, mechanical, or otherwise, without the express written permission of the copyright holder. These lessons are for individual use only. Unauthorized sharing, duplication, or resale is strictly prohibited. While these lessons are designed to help you prepare for the Series 65 exam, they are not affiliated with, endorsed by, or sponsored by the North American Securities Administrators Association, NASSA, or any other regulatory body.
Welcome to this lesson about understanding the FINRA Series 65 exam and how to prepare for success. In this lesson, we'll be talking about the exam itself. I'll give you some content to go over, and then once we're done with that, I will quiz you to see if you are ready to move on to the next lesson. So let's go ahead and get started. So welcome to this lesson. The FINRA Series 65 exam is officially known as the Uniform Investment Advisor Law Examination. This is a crucial step for those who wish to become Investment Advisor Representatives, or IARs. Whether you're just getting started or you're deep into your preparation journey, today's session will guide you through two major areas. One, what the Series 65 exam is and what content it covers. And two, the most effective strategies to prepare for and pass the exam. By the end of this lesson, you'll have a clear understanding of the exam's purpose, its structure and content areas, and practical, proven strategies to help you pass on your first attempt. So let's jump right into that. What is the FINRA Series 65 exam, and what does it cover? The Series 65 is not actually administered by FINRA, though it is commonly referred to as a FINRA exam for simplicity. In truth, the North American Securities Administrators Association, or NASAA, develops the exam, while FINRA facilitates its administration. Passing the Series 65 exam is required in most states for individuals who want to offer investment advice and receive compensation for it. Specifically, it's geared towards those who intend to become Investment Advisor Representatives, IARs, under state-registered or SEC-registered investment advisors. So let's talk a bit about the exam structure and format. So the number of questions, there's 130 multiple choice questions. There is a time limit, and in this case, it's 180 minutes. That's equal to 3 hours. So what then is a passing score? You need to get at least 72%. So that means that you have to get at least 94 out of the 130 questions correct. And then as of this course, the cost is about $187. So though that's something that might vacillate from time to time, but there is a cost associated with taking the exam. So just remember that. There is no prerequisite sponsorship required, however. So unlike other FINRA exams where you have to have a sponsorship, like the Series 7 exam, for example, you don't have to have any prerequisite sponsorship to take this exam. Okay, so that's the exam structure and format. Let's talk a little bit about the topics that are covered in the exam. So the content of the Series 65 exam is organized into 4 major sections, each focusing on different areas of financial knowledge. 1. economic factors and business information, basic economic concepts, interest rates, inflation, monetary and fiscal policy, business cycles, and financial reporting and analysis. So that's about 15% of the total test. Next, we have investment vehicle characteristics. These are types of securities, bonds, stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, REITs, insurance-based products like annuities and life insurance, and then asset allocation and diversification principles. That's about 25% of your total test. So that's a pretty big chunk. But these next two chunks are even bigger, so pay attention to that. 3 is client investment recommendations and strategies, about 30%. Client profiling, risk tolerance, goals, time horizon, portfolio management theory, so we have modern portfolio theory, CAPM, etc., investment policy statements, tax consideration, and real estate planning basics. And then finally, the last section, that's about the last 30% of what you're going to do, are laws, regulations, and guidelines. These are things like the Uniform Securities Act, the Investment Advisors Act of 1940, fiduciary duties, ethical business practices, and the registration of securities and individuals. So this mix of content ensures that a Series 65 license holder understands both investment concepts and the regulatory framework that they operate in. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about how you can prepare for the exam. Now, it's not one of those things that you can just cram for overnight. As you've seen, there's a lot of questions. You're going to do 130 questions in all those different categories. That's not something that you can normally just cram for and be okay. And you got to get a good score too. If you don't get a good score, then you have to go ahead and take it again, which is no fun because then you have to pay for it again. So let's talk about some strategies that you might want to employ to make sure that you pass on the first attempt. So first, understand the exam blueprint. Start by downloading the NASAA Series 65 content outline, and listen to courses like this, of course. This free resource breaks down every topic and subtopic that could appear on the exam. So use that as your master checklist. So if you're creating little review lessons or flashcards or whatever it is you want to do, that's a great resource. Step 2, choose the right study materials, which if you're listening to this is something that you're already working on. So invest in a Series 65 exam prep program like this one. You can supplement these also with textbooks or digital study guides, practice questions and full-length exams, video lectures and flashcards, and performance tracking dashboards. Those are all different tools that you might use. Top providers include Kaplan, ExamFX, PassPerfect, and STC. Step 3, create a study plan. Design a 6 to 8 week study schedule depending on how much time you can dedicate daily. So focus on perhaps, your study style might be a little different, but here's one way that you could do it. 2 to 3 hours a day on weekdays and 4 to 6 hours on weekends if possible. Like I said, your schedule may vary, but you definitely want to invest as much time as you can on it. And the consistency is the key. Reviewing something over and over again consistently is what's going to help you get there. It's what's going to help the content stick in the long term. Break your study time into about 60% learning and reviewing content, 30% practice questions and exams, and 10% reinforcement and weak area review. That's a really important part of it, because if you have to struggle a little bit to remember something, it actually helps you remember it better. So try to force yourself to go through those questions that are hard for you. You have to work at it a little bit because your brain's like is training, kind of like a muscle, where if you use it on those hard things, it's going to help you long term. They're going to get better at them. And step 4, practice, practice, practice. Use at least 1,000 practice questions before exam day. I mean, that's a good guideline. Just you want to do 10 times as many or so practice questions as there are going to be on the exam, just so that you're really familiar what the questions look like, what sort of material you're going to see, so that you're not going to be tripped up on the day of exam, like wondering, oh, what sort of questions are they going to ask me? Yeah, you're just going to feel really good about all that. Simulate testing conditions by taking full-length practice exams to build endurance and time management skills. The time management's important. You don't want to get so stuck up on several questions that you don't finish. You definitely want to get all the way to the end so that you can finish. Carefully review every question you get wrong and make notes on why the correct answer is right. Understanding why is the key. That's a huge thing. Step 5, focus on your weaknesses. Regularly assess your performance by topic area. Most prep programs give you detailed analytics. Devote extra time to topics where you're, say, scoring under 70%, let's say. If you're not scoring higher than that on a section, then yeah, that's probably somewhere where you need to focus on. Because if you think the entire exam, you're going to need to get about 72% of everything. So if that's an area you're below 70%, that's probably going to drag you down. You'll have to do much, much better in the other spots in order for this to make sense. Step 7, take care of yourself before the exam. Get enough rest, hydrate, and avoid cramming the night before. Go into the exam center with confidence. You've prepared, now trust yourself. So here's our recap of the lesson. Let's summarize what we covered today. The Series 65 exam is required for those who want to become investment advisor representatives and is developed by NASAA. The exam includes 130 multiple choice questions covering economics, investment products, portfolio strategies, and regulations. Preparing effectively means using a structured study plan, quality prep materials, and lots of practice questions. Consistent review, especially of weak areas, and solid test-taking strategies will give you a strong chance of passing on your first attempt. All right, so in this section now, I'm going to quiz you. I have a few multiple choice questions, and then I have some open-ended sample responses. Just to test yourself to make sure that you understand what we learned in this lesson today. If you do well on these, then you're probably ready to move on to the next lesson. And if not, you probably need to review before moving on to the next one. All right, my first question is, what is the primary purpose of the Series 65 exam? A, to become a certified financial planner. B, to work as a broker-dealer. C, to be an investment advisor representative. Or D, to sell variable annuities. The answer is C, to become an investment advisor representative. How many questions must be answered correctly to pass the Series 65 exam? Is it A, 91, B, 94, C, 100, or D, 110? The correct answer is B. You need to get 94 out of the 130 questions correct. And if you do that, then you pass the test and you can move on. My next question is, which organization develops the Series 65 exam? A, FINRA, B, the SEC, C, the NASAA, or D, the SIPC? Take a second to think about that. So in this case, it's C. It's not actually FINRA. It's the NASAA. Which topic has the greatest weight on the Series 65 exam? Is it A, economic factors, B, investment vehicles, C, laws and regulations, or D, client recommendations and strategies? In this case, it's D. Client recommendations and strategies are going to be the largest part on there. Which of the following is not typically included in the Series 65 exam study materials? A. Practice exams. B. Market timing signals. C. Flashcards. Or D. Video lectures. The answer is B. Market timing signals. All those other things you will usually see. What is one reason to take full-length practice exams? A. To memorize answers. B. To avoid using a study guide. C. To build test endurance and identify weak areas. Or D. To learn regulatory definitions only. So here the correct answer is C. To build test endurance and identify weak areas so that you can work on them in the future. All right, one last multiple choice question for this round. Which of the following is the most effective way to address weak areas in your study? A. Skip them and focus on the strong areas. B. Increase time spent reviewing those topics. C. Avoid practice exams. Or D. Study only on weekends. In this case, it's B. You want to increase the time spent reviewing those topics. If you can make your weak spots into your strong spots, then you should be okay when you take the exam. All right, so now I'm going to give you 3 open-ended questions. So I'll give you the question, I'll give you some time to think about it. You can pause if you need to in order to think about it, and then I'll give you a sample response. So your response doesn't have to be exactly like the sample response, but that will just be one possible way you could have answered it. And hopefully it will help you think of things that you might have missed. All right, so the first open-ended question. Why is the Series 65 exam an important credential for investment professionals? What do you think? So here's a sample response. The Series 65 exam is important because it allows financial professionals to legally provide investment advice and receive compensation for it. It demonstrates that an individual understands the core concepts of financial advising, including portfolio strategies, investment products, economic factors, and regulatory compliance. So something like that. All right, number 2 that I want to ask you is, what are some strategies you can use to improve your performance on full-length practice exams? What are some things that you can do? So for example, I can improve by simulating real exam conditions, timing myself, and reviewing all of my incorrect answers in detail. Tracking my scores by topic area helps me focus on my weaknesses, and then I can spend more time on my weaknesses. Additionally, breaking down the logic behind both correct and incorrect choices enhances your retention. All right, finally, describe how a strong understanding of regulations helps in passing the Series 65 exam. So you might say something like, regulations make up a significant portion of the exam itself. So understanding the Uniform Securities Act, fiduciary responsibilities, and advisor regulation rules helps avoid making common mistakes on the exam itself. It also builds ethical awareness, which is essential for client trust and legal compliance. All right, how did you do? If you're feeling really good about that, and you got most of those questions right, and you're able to answer the open-ended questions, and felt good about that, then you're probably ready to move on to the next lesson. If not, you should go ahead and review this lesson and make sure that you are ready to move on. And that is all for our lesson for today. Thank you very much for listening.